Imagine a small room, a single lamp, a man with a plain face and tired hands. He opens a letter, reads it, folds it quietly, and places it in a drawer. He never lied. Not to his friends, not to his bosses, not to people who wanted him dead. That truth, simple, stubborn, ordinary, became his most useful tool. This is the story of Michael Raines. I'll tell you who he was. A postal clerk from a coastal town who became an intelligence officer because he could listen, remember, and speak plainly. He had no spy novels in his past, only shortwave radios and a father who fixed things. He believed straight talk mattered. He was right, in a way most intelligence people never expected. The world Michael entered treated deception like a craft. Agents learned false names, carried fake papers, and rehearsed cover stories. Lies were tools to open doors. That work is old and obvious. But Michael noticed something else. Lies cost energy. Every falsehood required more falsehoods to support it. A network built on lies needed constant upkeep. Truth, by contrast, is cheap and often overlooked. People expect lies in espionage. They do not expect plain, boring truth. Michael learned to use that neglect as a lever. He started small. Assigned to a regional station, his job was to handle messages and watch patterns. He listened to airport chatter, to the odd phrases people repeated, to the habits of clerks. He noticed how suspicions formed. If an enemy wanted to break a ring of couriers, they looked for contradictions, a mismatch in a schedule, a name that did not fit. Lies leave fingerprints. Truth often melts into the background. A sincere person makes slips that look natural. A liar makes slips that look rehearsed. Michael used that. He developed two simple rules. Reveal harmless truths that lower suspicion, and reveal targeted truths that push people to make mistakes. Lowering suspicion was the easy part. In one case, he posed as a light truck driver in a small port town. He did not invent a whole life. He told true, ordinary things. He had 2 kids. He parked his truck behind the bakery. He was short of cash. Those details made him unremarkable. People let him into their conversations because he seemed like one of them. Then he added a truth that seemed comfortable for everyone. He complained openly about slow police work. It was a common gripe in that town. The smugglers heard it, assumed he was careless, and began discussing schedules in public places. Michael wrote down the bits he needed. His bosses moved quietly. The network collapsed not because he lied about them, but because he let truths fall into the wrong hands in the wrong order. What Michael did was not magic. It was psychology. When a person hears a fact that fits what they already think, they stop asking. Confirmation reduces doubt. People also assume that a stranger who confesses a small flaw must be harmless or honest. That assumption works like a trap. Michael fed expectations to make people comfortable, then let their comfort make them reckless. Another example, Michael targeted a ring of informants inside a government office. These informants used coded notes hidden inside routine memos. Michael did not chase the codes. He published a cleaned report, a true document showing how clerks processed files. The informants, seeing routine paperwork discussed openly, began to worry their channel was exposed. Rumors spread. Colleagues suspected one another. The cell's trust collapsed. They started changing their methods and making mistakes, trying to be too careful. The network unstitched itself from the inside. Truth, visible in the right place, made secrecy brittle. Timing mattered as much as content. Michael flowed facts like drops of water. Drip information slowly to build trust. Deliver a larger truth to push the opponent toward panic. He once handled a case involving a high-level official suspected of passing material abroad. The man was cautious, meeting couriers in secure apartments and never writing incriminating notes. Michael could have forged a memo. Instead, he engineered small, believable errors. A briefcase left under a bench, a file set aside without an author line, a delayed message that forced a question in public. Those small truths made the official anxious. Under pressure, he repeated a phrase in a cafe that matched one he'd used with a courier months earlier. That phrase let investigators close in. The official's own worry created the proof. That pattern shows another truth. When you make people worry about being exposed, they sometimes recreate the trail they hope to hide. Anxiety makes people act like themselves, not like the careful masks they wear. Michael used that. He also learned to pick his weapons. He used truth to attack systems, not people. Where possible, he exposed bureaucratic papers, not private family letters. He worked through newspapers, trusted local leaders, and community meetings. A respected elder raising a concern in a town hall could blow a hole in a network more surely than a foreign agent shouting accusations. Civil institutions could be allies. Michael preferred them because public exposure often led to official inquiries. Those inquiries, when carried out by independent institutions, could do the needed work without bloodshed. There were limits and costs. Truth can heal. It can also cut. When a network collapses, jobs are lost, families suffer, and some innocent people get swept up. Michael felt that weight. He avoided operations where the likely fallout would harm civilians. He refused orders that asked him to expose a family name without certainty. Those refusals cost him career points but saved lives. Use of truth demands judgment and compassion. Michael learned to weigh the likely benefit against the human cost. This method also depends on culture. A fact that terrifies people in one place will be shrugged off somewhere else. Michael surrounded himself with local experts who understood how a community would react. He listened to priests, shopkeepers, retired school teachers. Their instincts mattered. A truth delivered by the right person lands differently. An editor prints a ledger. A cleric mentions a name in sermon style. Both can create panic, but in different ways. Michael learned to choose the channel as carefully as the content. At times, Michael used public media not to expose wrongdoing, but to force bureaucratic change. He found that some agencies relied on mundane paperwork and routine approvals. Expose a budget list or an expense ledger in a neutral context, and an enemy's careful rhythms break. Handlers lose contact with assets. Sleeper agents awaken to find their funding gone. The directorate he once crippled had been proud of its administrative control. The ledger Michael leaked proved only that their paperwork existed. The public printing made them panic, change routines, and commit mistakes. That visibility did the damage. But truth is messy. It can backfire. In one mission, Michael revealed a report to prompt internal panic and flush out a mole. The ministry used the report to tighten procedures. The mole adapted and survived. Timing, again, can defeat truth. Reveal too early or too late and the outcome changes. Michael learned to step back and accept the slow, uncertain work of unmaking a secret. He also had critics. Some called his methods manipulative. They asked whether revealing facts to cause harm could be justified. Michael answered simply, "We did not lie. We chose which facts people needed to see." That answer satisfied some, offended others. The moral line is thin. A truthful statement can be weaponized just like a lie. The difference is that a truthful statement is still a fact. That matters in law and in public opinion. But it does not erase the hurt it can cause. Michael's skill came from observation. He remembered small rhythms. The way a clerk tapped his pen, a cough before a lie, the habit of putting a hand over a name. Those details are not instructions for wrongdoing. They are the human things that let a story feel real. He used them to judge which truth would land and how an opponent would likely react. Near the end of his career, some of Michael's files were declassified. People outside the trade tried to label him strategist, moralist, manipulator. He shrugged. He saw his work as tending to fragile systems. He pushed the idea that secrecy can be made brittle by what we already have facts. He taught new officers to think before they speak, to measure the ripple a truth might make. Now consider the modern age. Leaks and whistleblowers are familiar to many of us. Investigative reporters wade through public filing cabinets to find small truths that reveal big frauds. That is Michael's lesson writ large. Visibility can be corrected. At the same time, it can destroy people if used carelessly. In politics, a single memo or an email can start a chain reaction that topples careers. In business, a leaked financial statement can sink a firm. The power of truth is not new, but the scale is different now. Information moves faster. A leaked ledger once printed in a weekly paper now circulates instantly around the world. The stakes are higher. For a listener from a generation that remembers the slow crawl of newsprint, this faster world may seem dangerous. Michael's story reminds us to pause. When you hold a truth, think, who will be harmed if you speak? Who will be helped? Are you revealing to protect or to punish? These questions are old. They were there when Michael handled dusty files in a lamplit room, and they are still with us when an email circulates at lightning speed. There were other agents besides Michael who used truth differently. Consider Anna, a human rights lawyer who worked with activists. I'll say who she was, a woman who spent her life documenting abuses and publishing names in careful reports. She believed truth could compel justice. Where Michael weaponized truth to break secret networks, Anna used truth to create public pressure so courts and officials would act. She worked with witnesses, verified accounts, and produced reports with careful footnotes. Her truth sought institutions that could enforce remedies. Her work shows a different aspect of truth, building legal remedies rather than creating panic. Both men and women in this work needed the same quality: care. Care for evidence, care for timing, care for the likely consequences. Michael's life also shows humility. He admitted mistakes. He told new officers to expect unintended harm. "You will break things," he said. "You must live with that." That honest confession is rare in a world that tends to hide errors. He thought about his own family. He worried about a spouse learning that a neighbor had been arrested because of a truth he helped reveal. He carried the cost privately. One of the most revealing parts of his story is how truth changes the accused. When people feel watched, they sometimes do things that expose them. A secret actor, when anxious, may call a known contact and repeat an old phrase. A worried official may rehearse a defense and use the exact wording he used in secret. Fear makes us predictable. Michael used that pattern to avoid false arrests and to preserve legal standards. He preferred a trail created by the suspect's own nerves over evidence planted by agents. That way prosecutions could stand in court. He liked that. He wanted convictions that could survive scrutiny. There are lessons here for anyone, not just spies. In families, a well-timed truth can end a long misunderstanding. In small businesses, a careful report to a regulator can expose fraud. But the reverse is true too. A careless leak can destroy livelihoods. Michael invites us to be deliberate. Think about the path a truth will take. Who will pass it on? Who will misread it? In a time where a single message travels a continent, this thinking matters. He died quietly, not on a field, but in a modest apartment with a radio playing in the background. In his papers were notes about duty, humility, and the weight of evidence. He left a short line: "Truth is a tool. Use it carefully." That seemed to sum his life. If you are a boomer listening, you may have lived through public truths that changed lives. Corporate scandals, political resignations, stories that rippled through workplaces and families. You know the sound a revelation makes. Michael's work was to make sure that when revelation came, it aimed at systems that needed change, not at random people. Sometimes he failed. Sometimes he did not. His life is not an instruction manual. It is a cautionary tale and, oddly, a guide to restraint. We can close with practical, gentle questions to carry with you. When you hold a fact that could hurt someone, will you speak? If you do, is your goal correction or vengeance? Have you checked whether innocent people will be harmed? Have you considered slower, institutional ways to handle the truth, such as courts, journalists who verify, or community leaders who can mediate? These are not new questions. They were Michael's daily worries. They are ours too. Before you decide to reveal a truth, imagine the first ripple. Who will hear it and what will they do? Imagine the second ripple. How will institutions react? Imagine the third ripple. Will anyone be hurt who had nothing to do with the original issue? If your answers make you pause, that is often a sign you should pause. If your answers show a path to repair and accountability, then truth may be the right tool. Michael used truth because he trusted ordinary institutions more than spectacular stunts. He trusted a newspaper's slow fact-checking over a midnight raid that would leave questions. He trusted courtrooms over quick headlines. That trust came from his belief that visible, verified truth gives societies a chance to correct themselves. It is not quick, it is not dramatic, but it can be lasting. So think of the man with the lamp and the drawer of letters. Think of his small rituals, listening, remembering, choosing when to speak. Remember that truth travels differently now than in his day. It moves faster and hits harder. That makes careful thinking more important than ever. If you are tempted to expose a secret in anger, remember the families that could be caught in the net. If you are trying to hold a secret to protect someone, remember the harm secret networks can cause. Michael's final lesson was simple. He told young officers, if you want to change a system, pick a fact that shows the system's weakness. Then let competent people do their work. Don't aim to punish, aim to repair. If your truth can make a machine stop running without blood, that is a strange kind of mercy. He knew mercy came in many forms. You will leave this story not with a neat moral, but with a question that stays with you. How will you use truth in your life? Will you wield it as a hammer, breaking everything in sight? Or will you weigh each blow and try to hit only what needs to be stopped? Truth is never neutral. It is a force. Use it with care.